Today we're going to be converting the Snapmaker A350 from the 3D printing mode to the CNC mode. My name's Casey and welcome to YaMaker.
Welcome to YaMaker.
So we're going to start out by switching out the bed, and then we're going to switch out the working unit. And we're just going to fast forward on that so you can see it, but not going to walk through it and take the time to go through all of that. So here we go. Alright, so the assembly is complete. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and then go into the computer, and we're going to set up a carve in there. So before we get started, we're going to need a file to CNC. The first round I want to do a relief carving, and then I'll do a cutout second. What we're going to want to do is go to the interwebs, unless you already have a grayscale image. And I just did a quick search for free grayscale images for CNC carving. You can try to do images of people, or like if you just search for free grayscale image, you'll get images and whatnot. But when they have a lot of detail like this, it's going to take a lot of time. And if it doesn't have the way how it works is the darker color, the brighter the color, the deeper the cut will be. So like on this image here, it's going to surface the entire thing. But on this image here, looks like hair or something, it's not. The black, it's not going to touch. It'll just do the white and cut that out. So from here, I just went ahead and chose this picture, and I downloaded that earlier, the artistic flower. And now I'm going to open that inside of Luban, and there we go. So right off the bat, it's pretty small. We got 20 centimeters top to bottom and 40 centimeters left to right. So I think that's going to be a little bit small, but I have actually measured the piece of, or I'm sorry, not 20 centimeters, 20 millimeters and 40 millimeters. I measured my piece of wood that I'm going to use, and it is 3.5 inches by 6.25 inches long. So I need to convert that, and won't be too bad. One thing would be nice if we had in here the option to switch from metric. Like I can do English, and machine settings are all in millimeter and whatnot. The door detection, I want that on because I want to test that out. Timeout, 30 seconds. I wish I could make that longer. And the config, that doesn't have anything in there, so that's not going to work for us. Let's go back over here to CNC. Yes, I know, we're going to not show this again this session. So to calculate our actual dimensions, we can simply go to Google and go 6.25 inch to millimeters.
6.25 inches is equivalent to 9.864 times 10 to the minus 5 miles.
Shut up, Google. All right, so 6.5 inches, 158.75 millimeters. And I'm just going to open a new tab. And 3.5 inch to millimeter. So 88 and 158. Another thing too is if we had a way to lock our dimensions, I think that would be another nice thing, because right now when if I try I can draw shapes, I can do whatever, but I can't manipulate this image and have it keep its ratio. So give me a second here, and I'm going to figure out what that is to keep the image in the same format, but make it a little bit larger. Alright, so I just used paint real quick, and what I did is I set it down to 400 by 194, just to get rid of that decimal. And then what I did is I took my measurement for the width, as that was the higher one, and I just, using the maintain the aspect ratio, resized that up to the horizontal up to 1580, which will be 158 millimeters and 76.6 millimeters. So just a little trick you can use to save you a little bit of time, and it's free, which is nice. Don't have to do anything. You might be able to go to Google, or if you know the math, the 2.54 centimeters per inch, you could go through and figure all that jazz out, but we don't have time for that. So that is our grayscale image. Actually, there we go. I just inverted or unchecked the invert image to make it black and then white, and that looks a lot better. The lines are nice and clean. Actually, that looks good that way now too. Maybe it just needed to refresh. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and go to process. I'm going to use a ball end mill for this one. Carving V-bits, a lot of times you're going to use it for doing like PCB boards. Flat end mills, I use that mostly for cutting out or hogging out material. If you use a larger flat end mill, you could take out a lot of material real quick and then do another pass with a ball end mill for getting your finer detail on the relief carvings and whatnot. Being unfamiliar with this machine and the CNC characteristics, the step down, to me, that seems really, really shallow. Target depth, I want to take that down. That's 3/4 inch wood. We'll go down to 15 millimeters. Jog height. So that should remember. Stop height. I'm going to bump that one up because I want plenty of room. I can just move it. Density, thoughts per millimeter. 5's fine. Work speed, 600 millimeters per minute. I'm going to preview this because I want to see what it looks like. No, I don't. Why is that taking so long?
1 hour later.
Okay, I'm back here. So I did a little bit of research, found out that there is a more recent version of Luban, 3.8.0 as of 9 days ago. So that would put it to, what is that, the 29th or something like that of July of 2020. So I went ahead and downloaded that. I was still running the same issue. So I figured out what is going wrong. First I'm going to go over here and just reconnect. Okay, we're connected. I'm going to add my image again. Hit open. I'm going to resize this to 120 millimeters by, what is it, 58.2? Yeah, 58.2. So it gives that. I'm gonna turn off the invert. I don't want it inverted. I want it black and white. I want black. Remember, black is not going to be carved. White will. So the brighter the white, the deeper it's going to cut. So now we're going to go ahead and go process. I'm going to change my target depth to 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter. My step down, that's how deep it's going to cut. Typically, I run that at half of the diameter of the ball mill. So that would be 1.5 millimeters on this one. I've never done this on this machine, so I'm going to go to 1 millimeter. I'm going to leave the jog height, stop height, and density as is. Density is kind of how fine the detail is. I'm not too worried about it on this one. The jog speed, work speed, and plunge speed, I'm going to leave those at the defaults. And then the issue that I was having is you have to hit preview first. Once the file is previewed, and it kind of generates a tool path is what it's doing. So I almost think it should say generate toolpath instead of preview. But now you can kind of see where it's going to be cutting out here. So from there, we can go ahead and now generate the G code. That won't take too long. It only takes a couple seconds. And again, it also will depend on how large of an area that you're working with and whatnot. So now that the G code is being created, now we can load the G code to the workspace. And once that's loaded, we are already connected to the Snapmaker. So I'm just kind of rotate that, make sure I can see that. I can see it here. And remember, it's going to start from this plane down. So what's above it is the work area. So when we secure, flip it over here so we can see, we need to make sure we're securing on the corners. So I have a lot of space on the two upper corners, but the lower corners, I need to make sure I'm out towards the edges and when I secure the piece of wood. So I'm going to go ahead and send that over to the device via Wi-Fi now. And once that's finished, I will see you out in the shop. Audio sync. 3, 2, 1. All right, so recording in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we're back out here in the shop, and on the Snapmaker screen it has do you want to start your job now? I'm not going to hit anything yet though. Reason why is I need to go ahead and set up my board on the bed here and secure that down before we go anywhere. So pretty simple. So I have the 4 arms, the 4 little knuckles that'll lock into place, and the screws. So I'm going to take this, and I can put it pretty much anywhere on my board. I do want to follow the lines though. And the reason for this is it'll help me make sure it's straight. And that way, as it's cutting, if I were just to set it on there like at an angle or anything, it's going to come off of the edges and try and cut. So if you want that, go for it. Also on the piece of wood, there we go. I just went from corner to corner and then made an X in the middle with a dot. So that way I know where the center is going to be. That's going to be our origin as well. So when we have to set up the origin, that's what it's looking for. So take that, and you want to kind of keep these as close as you can, at least in my opinion. So that's a little bit too close. Let me set up another one of these because I want to try and keep them as close to the edge as I possibly can. I still want it to be nice and strong when it holds it down, but I don't want it so high. And these are kind of there we go. So we can do one. Let's try this. All right, so the screws with the butterfly nut on them, and I'm going ahead and see where the best location is to secure these. So I'm just going to spin it down just a little bit with my finger and try and line it up to an edge. Do that there. There we go, so that'll be a good one. Alright, so I have those secured. Now I need to go ahead and attach the bit that I want to use. So I'm going to grab the 2 wrenches, and then I'm going to find my ball and mill. So I'm going to take that out of the container. Also need the collet, and just ER11 collet. Alright, so the collet was, and the nut for it were both in protective plastic, so they are a little bit greasy. To insert the collet into the nut, you're just going to pop it in there and just give it a push. It should pop into place and lock. If you shake it around, it should not come out. Just that simple. Alright, so we're going to take our bit and go ahead and just kind of put it in there a little bit by hand. And then start screwing that in there. So we go finger tight with it first. There we go. And then the smaller of the two, the 14 millimeter, goes on the shaft that goes to the actual motor, and then the larger one is on the nut. Just snug those up. Come on. This isn't that difficult. There we go. Alright, now we're snug. Alright, so at this point we should be all set up and ready to actually start cutting our piece. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. Holy crap moly, 20 hours and 29 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and start this and see how loud it is and let it run. But to go through the process here, this is kind of what you guys see as well here. Just going to hit ready. Yeah. So setting the work origin, I'm going to set the bit so it just barely touches that piece here. So, and just like when you're setting up your 3D printer, you can use a piece of paper or the handy dandy card, and just make sure you can slide that underneath there. So we're just bring that down a little bit more, a little bit more. Too much. So it's going to pull through and it's kind of scraping this plastic. So I'm going to bring it up just 1.1 millimeter. There we go. So now that I have that set, the camera is, there we go. So now I have that set, I'm going to hit the set work origin and then run a boundary. So that looks good to me. So let's go ahead and start. Oh, won't let me start because it's detecting the doors are open, so that's good. Let me know as it's working, so in time to close up. Confirm and start.
Tomorrow for sure.
All right, so it's the next day, and it is a little after 1 in the afternoon. This thing's been running since like 6 o'clock last night, and still had another almost 4 hours left on it. So I went ahead and stopped it. So let's go ahead and take that out, and we'll take a quick look, and then we'll go inside and set up to do a cut instead of a relief, and run through that process real quick. Should be pretty similar to doing what we have already done, and then run that and we'll be good. And the swing nuts makes this a really easy job. All right, so let's go. Looks pretty good. Can definitely see the marks in there and everything, but it did well on there's a knot. Let's bring this over here. So it did pretty well with the knot. I'm actually going to try and put some mold release or something on here, and then try some clay to do the reverse of it. So I'm going to cut out around the outside with the bandsaw, and then we'll see how that is at the very end of the video. All right, see you inside. All right, so we're back in here at the computer, and got a couple things here. I got the piece of wood that I'm going to be cutting on. We need to get measurements from that, and then we can go ahead and start setting up what we're going to cut out here. Might just do a couple shapes or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. So our work area is 130 by 130 by 4.8. Let's check a couple spots here. 4.9, so 4.84, 4.9, 4.84, 4.84. So I'll set it to 4.84. All right. The reason why I want to know what that is, because if we do, as we place out everything here, we want to keep it pretty centered. So I could either start at the bottom corner and work up here to 130 to 130. Or if I just do out to 65 and 65, 65, negative 65, negative 65, keep it inside of that area. So we're going to zoom in here, so it'll make it a little bit easier. And that way I'll keep it inside of my area, so we'll be good. So I'm going to try. Yeah, I think I would probably end up using some of the other programs. Fusion 360, even Easel is definitely better on what we can do here. Let's go to process. Yeah, look at that. It's horrible. Why is it not like that? I really wish undo would work. I'm gonna hit that so many times and move something, and no undo is like ridiculous in this day and age. Okay, so that's got 5 paths. That's gonna follow on the path, but remember, that's 10 millimeters. This bit is 3 millimeters in itself, so that's 5, 2. So off of that line, 1.5 is gonna be, you know, that big on either side to follow that line. Trying to get it to follow the inside of the line. Fine, maybe instead of using the flatten mill for this, let's try the carving bit and see how that is gonna work for everything. Or the V bit. And then we're gonna go, I'm gonna change the text as well. Instead of it being a fill, we'll do that one on the path with the V bit as well. Go ahead and preview that. Also for controls, if I haven't mentioned it before, if you just left click and drag around, it like rotates it. right click will pan, and then middle mouse wheel you can zoom in and out. So that's how I'm able to look and see how many paths it's, or how many times it's going to take to get around it and whatnot. So now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and preview one more time just to be safe. That's done. Let's go ahead and generate our G code. And now we're going to go ahead and load that G code to the workspace. There we go. So again, we're under the 65, under the 65, under the 65, under the 65. So it look good. You know what? I'm going to make this butterfly a little bit bigger. So let's go back over here, go to that. So let's do this one. So we just need to remember we need the V-bit. And we should be good. So let's go out there and go ahead and get this set up. Okay, so I'm back out here in the shop. I got my piece of wood, I got the Snapmaker, and let's just need to put this on there. Need to add the bit, and then we should be good to go. So let's do that real quick. All right, so we want to start this job. We already, says 13 minutes, so a lot shorter. Adjust settings. Work speed to 100%, so we'll leave that as is. Ready. Next. So now we need to set the home position, so same as before. And we bring that way down. So now while I have it up high, still a little bit, I'm going to run a boundary check. So I'm going to shift that over just a little bit. And we'll go ahead and start. So this is going to take about 13 minutes, it says, 14 minutes. So I'll see you then with the end product. Okay, the Snapmaker is finished, so let's go ahead and take it out and see what we got. Well, it didn't go through all the way. It didn't go, I mean, I can push it. I can push here. I can actually feel where it's just barely was cutting through. So I could probably use a little bit more depth on there. The cut though, using the V-bit, I knew it wasn't going to be that fantastic. But the edges look good and everything. I would probably need to do something a little bit bigger to get that out. I may do that here, have a quick follow-up later this week with something larger, and actually maybe try look at the preset ones that they have in there and see if we can cut something out that way. The relief that we did, that went ahead and I put some finish on it to help smoothen it up, and then I used some flour and I made some clay. That off of there. Went ahead and we made this. So that was from, by doing the negative, I was able to create that. And the little ones are going to end up painting that here once it dries out in the next couple days. So my initial thoughts, the software is definitely lacking. It's not very intuitive, but it has the basics there for the CNC. I would like to see a little bit, like if I click on the G code, then it just creates a G code. I don't think I should have to run through the preview first to create the G code. Maybe just hitting create G code automatically goes through the preview to get all the paths and everything needed for the CNC, and then creates the G code after that all in one task. Option wise, it's very lacking. I mean, the fact that you basically have follow the line, follow the outside of the line, or empty it out didn't seem you could do more, because you could have it like cut out the inside or cut out the outside, follow the line, and then fill out. Just that one little more option I think would have been a lot better. And the fact that I know I did a small piece, and that's my fault. I should try cutting out a larger piece. That's not going to have areas that are, less than 2 millimeters apart. I need something where at least the entire drill bit or entire bit, which is at what, 3.25 millimeter roughly, can fit in there and not cause issues. So overall, I like it. It wasn't too loud. I did have it in the enclosure overnight while it was running. The top was open though, so there was still quite a bit of sound coming out from it, but it was nowhere near as loud as the bigger one. So doing the relief cuttings, I would be okay with those running in here for multiple days that it would take for a larger project to go through. And that would be, again, okay. And if I put the top on it, it's going to only, it's only going to decrease the sound a little bit more. So I think this is pretty good. All right, so I wasn't happy with this result, so I went ahead and just made a quick little one using their letters only and made it large enough. I did a cutout on a piece that was 190 by 190 millimeters. And the results, better. Not impressed though. Reason why? On the A's and the E's, so I've cut them out since then, but it cuts the outside first, and the outside, and the outside, and then it would cut the inside. And when the outside has been released, because I didn't use sticky tape, I didn't use tabs or anything like that, so tabs would have resolved the issue. Sticky tape would have resolved the issue, but just having it set down on the board did not resolve. It showed me an issue by cutting the outside of the letter first instead of the inside, because it grabbed it. And on the A here, if you can see that at the top, right up here, it actually dug into it. Because what happened is it came down, pushed through it, picked it up while it was spinning, and moved on to the next letter and pushed it up even higher onto the bit. So just be forewarned, make sure if you're going to be cutting out like stuff inside of other things that are being cut out, that you secure those properly. But it works. Not impressed, but I'm not let down too. I mean, there's other 3-in-1s out there that could never do anything like this, and then trying to convert an actual 3D printer into doing something like this, I would scare the shit out of me. So if you enjoyed the content, please give me a like. It definitely helps out. And if you would like to see more of this type of content, also going to be working on some builds here in the future. I got some drill bits I'm going to kind of take a look at here in the next video, actually in probably 2 videos from now, maybe the next video, and then I'll do the laser one after that, because the laser is really what I want to get in and see and see how well that does, because I have quite a few projects I'd like to use that on. So again, my name's Casey, and this was the Unmaker.